Hello everyone, Artemu the Violet Wizard here, and today we're continuing Kirby Superstar Ultra. Last time we managed to take care of both Revenge of Meta Knight and Milky Way Wishes, which closed off most of the story important aspects of the original Kirby Superstar. And today we should be getting into some of the DS Remake exclusive content. But first, we have a couple other things that we need to take care of before we get started on some of the new things ahead of us. Now, before we begin the main event for today, I want to quickly go over one of the other sub-games that we hadn't yet tackled yet here on stream, and that is Snack Tracks. So for this mini-game here, so we, of course, can pick different levels that we can do this. So the rules here we can see. Tap rocks and bugs to get rid of them. Beware bombs on your tracks. Tap rocks twice. So got ourselves another touchscreen-based mini-game that we gotta do here. So let's go try this out and see how we do. This is a pretty simple game mode. You simply want to pay attention to the items that are coming down the conveyor belt. If you see food, then you just let Kirby snack on it. But if you see something you don't want, like a caterpillar or a bomb, just tap to get rid of it. Tapping the caterpillars will simply get rid of them, and tapping the bombs will send them on the conveyor belt of another character. So just want to be very careful, make sure you got a good idea on where all the hazards are, and tap them away. There's really not much else to this game mode. Yeah, this one could be quite interesting. Once the timer runs out, you enter the second round, and you switch to a different track. So, got ourselves another position we gotta be careful at. Pushing a lot of bombs towards me. But sometimes you'll also see caterpillars clinging to a Maxim tomato, so gotta watch out for that. So the Maxim tomatoes will definitely get you a lot of points, so be sure to scarf those down. These other Kirbys are definitely being a bit of a pain here, but I think we got that done. Except we managed to win level 1 of Snack Tracks. Woo, man, look at that score. We certainly scarfed down more grub than these guys. Alright, let's try level 2. This will be a fun little bit of practice before we get into the main event today. Something I like about this mode, the music that is playing here is a remix of the Factory theme from Kirby 64. And I always really like that music track, so hearing this remix here in this game is very nice. Got another bomb on our way, some more caterpillars. Alright, we got that, so we're doing pretty good so far. Got another bomb incoming. We are doing... Ow! Okay, we took a bomb, so we are a little bit behind here, but depending on how it goes in this round, we should be good. Just gotta make sure we do better than red here. I know the different color Kirbys have different names. Ow. I got a caterpillar. We should be good as long as we don't get another bomb, because that would be really nasty. Ah. Oh, we got a rock on the belt there. So yeah, definitely want to be careful of rocks, because you have to tap them twice to get rid of them, as opposed to the caterpillars and bombs, which you just need to hit once. Okay, I don't think we did better at that round. Yeah, we lost to red. By how much? Wow, almost 50 points we lost to you. That is quite nasty. But I think we are all good with checking out that mode. It's again a pretty nice little sub-game that you can play, also with other players if you'd like. Now it's time to go into the main event today. We are going to tackle the arena. Why can't people stop fighting? When the pink terror raises his fist, even the strong tremble in fear. Every boss you fought is here. think you can take them all in a fight, right? So yeah, welcome to the arena. This is basically the boss rush mode of this game. Every boss that we've encountered in the 5 main scenarios from the base Kirby Superstar, we can fight here. And yeah, there is a lot of bosses in this game compared to some of the other Kirby games. So we're gonna be here for a while. But yeah, this game mode is a blast. I always do enjoy this a lot. So you can see on the bottom screen what our first opponent is going to be, which is Kracko. So starting off in this mode, you're sent into the room where you have all the different item selections, giving you easy access to all the different powers that you can use here at your disposal. So I highly recommend picking whichever ability works best for you, which one you are the most familiar with, which ones you would feel would work best for the bosses you'll be facing in this mode, and just see how you do. But what I like to do when I play the arena, and what I'm going to do here today, is I'm going to treat this mode kind of like a rogue-like game, where I'm going to go into the first fight with no ability and no partner, and we're going to see just how we do. So let us start things off with Kracko, a classic opponent all the way from the first Kirby game. So this guy's definitely got a lot of attacks at his disposal, so we gotta be careful. So I know I can get an ability from some of the enemies that Kracko spits out, but I want to specifically try and beat this guy with no ability, because that is what we came into this fight with. Just want to see how we're able to do with our base ability of Suckin' and Spit. With that, we're able to take out Kracko, and this puts us into the rest area. Okay, that's an interesting choice for the next boss we have to fight. So the rest area here, in between each fight, you will be warped to this area. It will give you one of 2 different abilities that you have access to. And up here we can see that there are 5 Maxim Tomatoes for us. We can use these in order to recover our health in between battles. And with 5 Maxim Tomatoes, we should not have to worry about wasting our healing items in this mode. Alright, so now that we have managed to win our first fight, want to... which of these do we want to do? So I'm gonna grab Parasol, and then I'm gonna spawn Parasol Waddle Dee for our partner, and then I'm gonna grab Bomb. I mean, it's really not gonna matter considering the next fight that we're gonna do here. But, yep, let's just jump into Galactic Nova Nucleus. So our next boss fight here, pretty much exactly the same as our last fight against Nova all the way at the end of Milky Way Wishes. Not much else you need to worry about here, though you are likely to take a hit there. Also, just watch out if you get caught in between the pillars and the edges of the screen, because you can get crushed from that, and that can be quite nasty. Because if you die in this mode, then you're going to have to redo all the fights again if you want to win. So definitely watch out for that. But with that, we're able to beat the Nucleus, and... oh, I see what is coming up. Oh, you are not prepared for what we're gonna do here. So, as per the rogue-like rules that I want to go with in the arena, every time we go to the rest area and we have a new assortment of powers here, I am going to select a new power for both me and our partner. And we're going to see what we're able to do against these bosses. So next up is Waddle Dee. Yeah, this is pretty much a joke fight. It's just a normal Waddle Dee whose AI is pretty much the same as most of the Waddle Dees we have already faced in this adventure. Funny thing is, if you have no power, you can just swallow this guy and just instant kill him like that. But yeah, you may have noticed that Waddle Dee was wearing a bandana. So that is specifically Bandana Waddle Dee, who was first introduced in Kirby Superstar Ultra, we'll be seeing him in another one of the game modes. Alright, so now we'll be taking care of that guy. It's time to face our old pal Wispy Woods. There's already, what, the third time that we have faced him in this game alone? Except you do have to fight the tree a little bit, but we should be fine just rising break against this guy. There is not much he's going to be able to do to us. Of course, he can drop apples, but it's not much he's going to be able to do. Ooh, so this would be interesting for us. Definitely want to give Plasma a shot here, so we're going to go with Burning Leo for our partner, and we're going to go with Plasma for my main weapon. Take on Chameleon. I don't believe there is anything else I need to feel like discussing regarding some of the bosses that we'll be facing here. Pretty much said what I needed to back in our first encounters with these guys. I guess it's pretty interesting that Chameleon you can just completely ignore if you're going for the Great Cave Offensive, because you're not required to enter the tower. It's purely so that you can get the treasures. So you can completely ignore this guy and have your encounter with him be in Milky Way Wishes. Kind of an interesting bit of thing regarding this particular boss. Alright, now that we dealt with you, oh boy, we got the King next. Alright, of course we got Fire for our partner, and let's go with Bombs against the King. So we're going to be seeing more of him in a little bit. I'm gonna get you, Kirby! This time we should be able to see a little bit more of Dedede's moveset compared to how things went last time. But yeah, this guy definitely has quite a few moves. His fight is pretty similar to how his fight went in the original Kirby's Dream Land. The only main difference is that he also has the attack where he sucks up air and then will float around the screen. But yeah, besides that, it is a standard King Dedede battle. This isn't like the more modern games where they shake things up by like giving him muscles or turning him into a feral beast. Alright, for this one, let's have Rocky be our partner, and we're gonna grab Sword. So we face off against Computer Virus. So the version of Computer Virus that you face in the arena will specifically be the one you face on Half Moon instead of the one you face in the Great Cave Offensive. Because I assume that it just makes more sense to have the more dangerous version of this boss be your opponent here, so I appreciate it. It's always just one of my favorite bosses in this game, just such a cool concept of having an RPG-themed boss in a platformer. It's really cool. Alright, so that guy's gonna raise his shield, so he's not gonna take a lot of damage from that. Seeing this guy kind of reminded me. So this week I've been playing through Dragon Quest Builders again, and I just got to the Moonbrook chapter of that game today, which is quite the interesting chapter. It's much more combat-focused compared to some of the other chapters in the game, which I have stated before that I'm not a big fan of the combat in Dragon Quest Builders 2, but the story of that chapter really does make the lackluster combat feel just a little bit better to sit through. Just having to go up against these relentless forces of monsters as you're trying to rebuild this castle and strengthen your forces. I just really love the story of that chapter. It is a good one. Dragon Quest Builders in general, just such a good time. I have been thinking about trying to see if I could play the original Dragon Quest Builders, because I never did play that one. I'm not sure how that one fares compared to Builders 2. Like, I absolutely adore Builders 2. And from what I hear, it does. Like, the game is a lot better than the original, from what I've heard. So, yeah, it would be nice to try out the first one. Speaking of which, I also just really want to play more Dragon Quest games in general, because there's a lot of games in that series. Still need to go back to the Dragon Quest III remake, because I got partway through that game before putting it down, and I would like to get back into that. And I still got the post-game content that I need to go through in Dragon Quest XI. God, I absolutely adore that game. It's so good. Alright, for this one, let's grab Cutter for our partner. And then we shall grab bombs for throwing at you. Let's go bag us a whale. Call me Ahab the way I want this whale dead. It's funny seeing a fatty whale from the front there. Just reminds me a lot of Whalmer from Pokemon. Just a fun design for this guy in general. I like his little sailor suit and the pipe he has in his mouth. I can do that attack when he's in the middle of the screen, and he's got a belly flop that he'll do. Ow. I really should have guarded that one. Should be just about done here. There we go. Okay, we took a bit of a beating in that one, so I'm thinking we might want to use one of our tomatoes. We got like 11 bosses we still need to take care of, so I'm just going to go ahead and get some health. Let's go with Plasma Wisp for our partner, and this time we'll grab Jim. So now we got Mid-Boss All-Stars 1. So for this match, we have 3 mid-bosses that we need to go through. Starting with Chef Kawasaki. Kawasaki, I never really got a chance to mention this, but I always love the fact that in the anime, he was voiced by Maddie Blaustein, who, for those of you who don't know, was an open trans woman. And my god, she has had a lot of phenomenal roles in the past. Really love her work. Like, she was Meowth in the Pokemon anime. God, I miss her. Alright, next we're going to be facing the Reactor. Yeah, I don't know how to feel about this boss being in the arena. It really doesn't feel like it should be here. But, yep, we got the Halberd Reactor as our next opponent. At least with Hammer, we should be able to blast a couple things. Jim, could you stay still? Jim! Stay still, man. Okay, somehow that was able to hit the reactor core. It's really not necessary, and Jim just totally drained all his health. Great work, buddy. Great work indeed. So while we're going through this stream here, wanted to briefly mention that one of my buddies, Master Starman, so he's been doing a Let's Play of all the games in the Kirby Dream Collection. And recently has been doing a playthrough of Kirby's Dream Land 2 in that collection, which has been going pretty well so far. It's been pretty fun getting to reminisce about this series alongside him. Let's go with Parasol for a partner with this one, and she'll do Beam as our main weapon here. Should be pretty good for this fight. Also, when we're in this fight, I forget if I mentioned this before one of the previous sessions, but Lololo and Lalala here are actually characters that appeared in another game before they appeared in the Kirby series. So they were originally from an NES game that was also developed by HAL Laboratories called Adventure of Lolo, where Lololo, at the time called Lolo, was the main character, and his mission was to try and save his girlfriend, Lala, who would become Lalala in the Kirby series. So just kind of a fun little trivia regarding the history of both Kirby as well as this. Alright, haven't had a shot of Mirror yet in this one, so let's have Plasma Wisp and Mirror for this fight. Oh boy, we got Meta Knight again. Let's do this, bud. At least this time we don't have to worry about the timer. What? Ah, geez. Looks like OBS kinda turned off for a second. Want to make sure things are good with the stream before we continue. Just give me a little second to make sure that things are okay. Okay, things should be good here. This looked like OBS kind of crapped out for a second, but we should be good to continue here. Alright, let's wait for Meta Knight to resume this fight, and we should be good. Once again, this guy is pretty patient, except when he isn't. Alright, let's beat this guy! Meta Knight, we've seen pretty much most of the tricks that he can do against us. He's a pretty formidable swordsman, but shouldn't have to worry too much about what this guy is packing in his arsenal. A little bit too many hits than I needed to, but we should be good. Ooh, nice shot, Plasma Wisp. Okay, I just want to make sure things are going. Really weird that OBS had a little bit of an issue, but I think we should be good to continue things here. Alright, so for this fight, I think it would be fun. We can go with Bonkers for our partner, and then we'll do Wing as our main ability here. So whenever you use a Maxim tomato, it will get swapped for a regular tomato when you go back into the rest area. So we're just gonna take the little tomato there to recover a little bit of health. And let's jump into this next fight. So we got ourselves Heavy Lobster again. So I want to show the Wing ability. The basic attack with this thing isn't too great with the feathers it shoots out. What you want to do is the Dive Bomb, because that's really good. The shockwaves do quite a bit of damage, so this is pretty much the best way to deal damage with the Wing ability. God, that is so good. Alright, for this fight, let's go Samira for a partner, and then we'll grab Bomb for ourselves. So we got main cannon number 2. So I believe this thing went by a different name in the original SNES version of this game. But I can't quite remember it off the top of my head. Just want to watch out for all the different things this thing can do. It'll try to grab you with its arm. It's got the big laser it can shoot out. And then, of course, you got the main cannon, which will shoot cannonballs at you. So watch out for all those elements, and you should be good. Bam! Again, I also really like how that thing is a pretty big hazard if you are playing through Super Smash Bros. Brawl and playing on the Halberd stage. It's quite a nice addition having that as a threat on that stage. But now we got ourselves a rematch with Wham Bam Rock. It's been a little while since we faced this guy. I feel like Plasma would help out here. You do have to be careful of those dropping hands. Except for plasma. It's a little awkward because you do need to charge up your attack. It's nice depending on how things go. So you do generate a bit of a shield that can help you in certain situations. Like, if the opponent is dropping certain hazards on you, that can help. So yeah, because I have the electric shield, that prevented me from taking damage from the falling rocks there. Very nice. This guy should be done. We really rocked his socks. Alright, so now that we're done with that, we got Mid-Boss All-Stars 2. For this one, let us do Bomb for our partner, to make ourselves a Poppy Bro Jr. And then we'll take Fire. So I definitely want to show off more of this ability, just because it's a good one. So starting off with Poppy Brothers Sr. Now we're facing one of his own. Then next, of course, we got Mr. Frosty. Also forgot to mention, but you can also obtain abilities from the various bosses you fight in this mode, if you're not particularly satisfied with an ability that you're currently using. So that is also a nice tactic that you can have in mind there. So after taking care of Iron Man, we're finishing things off with Juke Kid. Again, I find the name of this particular boss a little awkward. It's specifically a reference to the martial art judo. So it's not a reference to a certain religion. Just wanted to make that absolutely clear. Alright, for this one, let's go Blade Knight will be our partner, and we'll go with Cutter. And we'll take on Twin Woods. Gonna chop you guys up and make myself a mahogany desk. Alright, these arboreal adversaries. Of course, we'll drop apples, Gordos, and also caterpillars against us, as well as the air puffs that they can do. But they're really not that bad. So our next opponent is gonna be Dynablade. So I haven't done this ability yet in this mode, and we have plenty of Maximum Tomatoes at this point. Let's just go ahead and use one there. Let's go with Parasol for Dynablade. Actually helped pretty well considering she does have some projectile attacks. Alright, Dynablade, let's do this. Definitely one of my favorite bosses in this game. I love Dynablade so much. So take advantage of her own stars there. And just take out with the Parasol Dive Bomb attack. Very nice. And of course, we got one last opponent for us here. So, in the arena, the last opponent you will always fight in the arena is going to be Marks. Very fitting, because he's the final boss of the entirety of Kirby Superstar. So, once again, a rematch with the Clown. So, while we're doing this rematch, I want to mention, in the last part I mentioned how I wish that Marks made more appearances in some of the other games that can be found within Kirby Superstar. I mainly said that because in one of the later games, Kirby's Return to Dreamland, that game has a character introduced in that I feel is pretty much Marks, but a much more impactful character within that game's narrative. If anyone here has played through Kirby's Return to Dreamland, you probably have a good idea who I am specifically referring to. But yeah, I've just wanted to mention that, because I love Marks, but in terms of actual character, he really doesn't have too much besides being an evil clown who wants to rule the world. Alright, our partner got taken out, but we should be more than equipped for the rest of this fight. Alright, there's the black hole attack. Gotta get away from that. Also, neat thing with Marks, in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, he gets some new attacks in that mode that are really weird. Like, he will retract his wings and then shoot out his own veins as an attack. Then he can also do some attacks involving his eyes that are really freaky. think the official reason for this is Masahiro Sakurai said that the original idea for Marks is that he was going to be a lot more creepy than how he is presented in the final version of Kirby Superstar. And they reference that by giving him some weirder attacks in that particular game. But with that, we managed to defeat Marks once again. And for doing that, our time for going through the arena is now recorded here. So try to get through this and see if you can improve your time each attempt. And by doing that mode, we now unlock Helper to Hero. And we got a new sub-game we can play, Megaton Punch. So this is a nostalgic sub-game. These nostalgic sub-games are back, ready for you to play here. You can play with one button. Let's go ahead and try this out. So Megaton Punch here is one of two sub-games that were in the original Kirby Superstar. And they are pretty much in this mode as faithful as they were from the original game, from a presentation standpoint. This mode is pretty simple, just trying to deliver the most powerful punch, which you want to do by just trying to match up the different meters as much as you can. Also, like that Mario, Luigi, Toad, and Birdo I just mirrored on the opposite ends of the screen. So yeah, the opponents you fight in this mode, you start off with a Waddle Dee, then a Knuckle Joe, and then finishing things off with an Iron Man. And for doing that, we were able to beat that one. Let's see how we do at level 2. We're just going to do this until we inevitably fail. Ooh, we actually managed to do pretty good there. Didn't quite get the center of the pendulum, but we were still able to beat Waddle Dee. Also, yeah, I guess I was kind of wrong about Bandana Waddle Dee. He was not introduced in Kirby Superstar Ultra, because he actually was in the original Kirby Superstar. Alright, we were just able to beat Knuckle Joe there. So let's see if we can beat Iron Man. What definitely throws you off is that the opponent gets to act before you do. Seems like we were able to beat Iron Man that time. Alright, very good. It's about 191 is about how good we can do. See if we can go even better. Also, I just love the animation demonstrating just how much you are punching by just having the cracks go all throughout the entire planet. It's such a great visual. Ugh, 178. That is not very good. So we definitely need to focus here. Alright, looks like we were better than Knuckle Joe. Still, 180, we can do much better. Alright, see if we can beat Iron Man. Oh, we're just neck and neck. Woo! We beat her by 1 point. Oh, that is so good. Alright, so that is Megaton Punch. That's another game you can also play with friends, and it's pretty neat to compare your scores. So yeah, but love to jump into the new game that we just unlocked, because it is a pretty interesting one. However, what I wanted to do today is I want to jump into this game mode, Revenge of the King. King Dedede demands revenge. Will he finally reign victorious over his age-old nemesis? Careful, he's serious this time. That darn Kirby! First he takes all my food, then he beats me in that race. Everyone in Dreamland seems to love him more than me. Well, I'll show them. Pretty soon nobody will even remember Kirby even existed. You watch out, you little puffball. I'm gonna get you. Stage 1, Purple Plants. So Revenge of the King here is pretty much a remixed version of Spring Breeze. the very first game mode that we selected when we first started this game. And as a way, this game could also be considered a spiritual successor to the extra mode from the original Kirby's Dream Land. Much like how Spring Breeze was a tribute to the original Kirby's Dream Land's main story mode. So yeah, this mode is very much going to be quite interesting. So the main draw with this mode is you're going through a lot of levels that are very similar to how things were back in Spring Breeze. Only a lot of the layouts for the areas are noticeably different. There's a lot of new stage areas that we visit. And a lot of the enemies here are different. So instead of Bronto birds, we got these little purple guys here. And instead of the Cappies, we have these more menacing and toxic-looking mushroom guys. And instead of Lovelies, we have these roses. Yeah, we have a lot of remixed things in this area, just for all the different enemies that we'll see, many of which were from the extra mode of Kirby's Dream Land. So it's cool getting to see these enemies return after so long, because most of them didn't get to appear in later Kirby games. Anyway, let's hop on the Warp Star here, and move on to the second half of Purple Plants. Now over here, we got ourselves a new mini-boss. This is Fan Fan, a returning boss from Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland. The neat thing with this mode is it brings back a lot of the mini-bosses from Nightmare in Dreamland, and by extension, Kirby's Adventure. So that is also a pretty neat thing with this mode. It's gonna be really cool just seeing this throwback to all of these previous bosses that we hadn't previously encountered in the main story of Kirby Superstar. Yeah, when I said that this game gets pretty interesting in the second half, once you are done with the main stuff in Kirby Superstar, yeah, it gets crazy. So now we're gonna head back into the tree, leading over to where we first fought Wispy. So like these tiger enemies that replace the Grizzos, they're a lot more aggressive and will charge at you. So that definitely makes them a lot more menacing compared to the Grizzos. I actually want to grab Ninja as our ability here, so... Well, we lost that guy. Don't worry, we can always respawn him by going off screen. Just do want to be careful. Another thing with this mode is that there's going to be a lot fewer health pickups in this area, so you definitely want to be careful. You're not going to find as many here, so restocking your health is definitely going to be much harder to do here compared to how things were. Also forgot to mention it, but welcome to the stream, Strawberry. Just playing through some Kirby Superstar Ultra here, one of my favorite games of all time. So now we're through that door, we can now face the boss of Purple Plants, Wispy's Revenge. So much like the enemies, the bosses are also remixed. So this time, Wispy will throw down these purple rotten apples. If you try to inhale those will damage you, so watch out. And he will also shake down Gordos. So yeah, this version of Wispy is quite a bit tougher than his previous incarnation we saw before. Also, I like the purple makeover. It surprisingly is a nice color for him. But with that, we beat the first boss of this mode. Now we move on to Illusion Islands. Blah! Aw, man, we got face hugged by the octopus that was the very first monster in the first episode of the Kirby anime. So yeah, but that is also a new face here that wasn't in the original Kirby Superstar, but was in the extra mode. So of course, got more of these threats to deal with. You're very vulnerable in the water if you don't have the right abilities. You definitely want to watch out. So definitely recommend trying to get the weapon powers, like the parasol or the sword are good here. Definitely good for handling some of the threats we'll find here in the water. Alright, so we got ourselves Beam for this. I forgot to mention it before. Beam typically isn't a very strong weapon unless you're using its charge attack. But it does have some pretty good utility because its different moves have a lot of good reach. Especially love the jump attack you do where you just rain sparks of energy down on opponents. That move is always pretty darn good. And of course, just the long whip of beam energy, always good for handling some threats like those exploding coconuts. Get out of here, you. Yeah, beam is definitely a pretty nice ability. I got ourselves a couple of more threats here. This area should be very familiar if you played the original Kirby's Dream Land. Because obviously a lot of the set pieces here are lifted from that game. Watch out for that Rocky that'll try to hit ya. And I'm pretty sure there's a secret over here, much like the original game. So yeah, if you're familiar with how things were in the original Kirby's Dream Land, then a lot of the areas here will seem very familiar to you. Which also extends to some of the secrets you can get. I'm pretty sure that whole underwater sequence was from the first game. Ow. Then this cavern section I know was part of the original too. See if we can... Alright, want to hit those blocks, then get past those Gordos there. Alright, we can grab a Maxim Tomato up there. So definitely need for some of the threats ahead. Wow, we are already almost dead. Please get rid of that cat. Alright, let's recover our health, and we should be good for the next thing ahead. Oh, we got these little apple guys. So those are the replacements for the Scarfy. Those things you definitely want to watch out for. Then we got some more cannons there. So compared to the Shotzos, those things will fire much more rapidly. So watch out. But yeah, if you attack or try to inhale the apples, they will obviously attack you. Very similar to how things worked with the Scarfies, so watch out. We could be able to get something if we had a crushing ability, but we don't. So we're just gonna have to move on. And if we head into this door, got ourselves another mid-boss. So this is Fire Lion, once again returning from Kirby's Adventure. So it's just such a really cool sprite. I love the way that Fire Lion looks in this game. Just gonna eat you for the fire ability. This should help against the next fight we're gonna go to. So we're heading back to Castle Lololo. Alright, let's grab another bit of health, and we should be good for this next fight. Let's head into the door here, and now we got Lololo and Lalala's revenge. They're now sporting an orange and purple color scheme, and as opposed to the original fight, these guys can now carry Gordos. It's very similar to how things worked in the extra mode of Kirby's Dream Land, where Lololo and Lalala would also push Gordos in some of their fights. So definitely want to watch out there. So we're able to take out Lololo, so we just got Lalala to deal with. One more hit should do it. Alright, one more should do it. There we go! We burned you and your boyfriend. Always feel bad for having to fight those guys, because in the anime, they're allies to Kirby and his friends. Now we move on to Crash Clouds. Ow! I got sat on by a giant cat. Definitely want to grab that one up there. Ow! So yeah, those cannons hurt if they manage to get you. They fire really quickly, and yeah, they do a lot. It's a bit of an awkward spot to try and get the ice ability. As much as I would love to, because I love ice in this game. Let's wait for you to fire, and we'll move on. Yeah, definitely appreciate this mode of this game. Like, what a great way to start off the new content in a Kirby Superstar Ultra by essentially doing Spring Breeze again, but having it as a tribute to the extra mode in Kirby's Dream Land. Like, this is such a fantastic decision. And it also works to make Dedede a bit more relevant in this game, because besides Spring Breeze and Gourmet Race, he's pretty irrelevant to a lot of the stuff that happens in the base Kirby Superstar. Because obviously Meta Knight and Marks take center stage as antagonists in some of the other game modes. As for Dedede though, there's really not much else to him. But he's definitely not playing around in this game mode. Time after time, he has gotten his butt kicked by Kirby all throughout this series. And he wants to settle our rivalry for good, just putting out all the stops by sending his strongest forces against us. And as we're going to see going forward, he's also going to be a pretty formidable threat when we eventually get to face him. So definitely want to take that cookie. So want to be prepared for the next fights ahead. Because here, now we face Kracko Jr.'s revenge. This obviously is going to be a harder version of Kracko Jr. As I remember, even back in the original Kirby's Dream Land, when you face a Kracko Jr. in extra mode, he can be really formidable. Because not only he'll just zip around the screen very fast, but he can also drop bombs on you from above. Yeah, this guy is pretty dangerous. Definitely want to watch out for his attacks. But now we dealt with him, we can just ride the Warp Star away to another familiar spot from the original Kirby's Dream Land. Also neat little things, some of the Waddle Dees that we see around here will be building spears. Also showing another sign that Dedede is not playing around. He's actually arming the Waddle Dees so that they'll be more formidable at fighting Kirby. Also pretty funny, the idea of Waddle Dees wielding spears, I believe was first introduced in the Kirby anime, as those were typically the weapons that they would wield. And afterwards, spears would kind of become synonymous with the Waddle Dees, specifically with one of the Waddle Dees who has been playable in a lot of the games in the series, as he would typically wield a spear as a weapon. In fact, the entire reason we have the spear ability in a lot of the 3D games is because of the spear Waddle Dees. So, you know, we gotta thank them for that. Alright, don't appreciate those plasma wisps just teleporting out of nowhere against me. Ow! Alright, much like the original time we were here, want to go into the moon if we go to the right spot. There we go. So once again, we got this secret area. They'll have a few things we can collect, namely food, so that we and our buddy can recover some health for the fight ahead. And of course I want to go here because there's another thing that we are able to get. So we fall down enough, we should be able to find our new opponent here, the Grand Wheelie. Once again, returning from Kirby's Adventure. This guy's just a big wheel. He'll roll around, sometimes shoot a little tire at you. That's basically all. And now we got Kracko's Revenge. I just really love this storm cloud aesthetic that Kracko's got going on. This guy is definitely very formidable. His beam attacks will be a lot larger, and he's got some remixed versions of his classic moves. He will now move around while doing his rain attack, for instance. Then he's got his lightning attack. Pretty standard, all things considered. Something else this guy does that I'm a little worried about. This one, he'll go in the middle of the screen and shoot out beams of lightning. First, they will be vertical and horizontal beams, and then he'll shoot at you diagonal. So, definitely want to be careful there. Ow, 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 I'm taking a lot of rain. Woo, thank you, Waddle Doo. I appreciate that. And thanks to our buddy, we're able to take out Krakow. So now, we move on to Mount Dedede Sky. So before we can take on the castle, ow! What the heck is bombarding us? Cabula? We haven't seen you since the original Kirby's Dream Land. What are you doing here? Yeah, Dedede is definitely stepping up his defenses. Bringing back a boss that hasn't been seen in years to defend his keep against Kirby. Even the Warp Star cannot protect us. However, with the star power we gained from the previous bosses, we were able to call back the Starship, which we previously used against Nova. Alright, with this, we should be able to handle Cabula. So once again, we have an aerial dogfight against this massive blimp. So Cabula is sporting a new design in this game compared to how she looked in the original Kirby's Dream Land, where she now has a face. Definitely a good design. I really love this look for Cabula. Let's also shoot these bullet bill looking missiles out at you. But yeah, really not too bad of a fight. As long as you keep firing, you should be good. Focus on dodging her attacks, and you should get through that fight. Final stage, the revenge. Great King! Cabula's been defeated! What should we do? You mean Kirby is coming here now? Relax, Great King! You must stay calm! Right. Well, here's what we do. Kirby will be ours! So unlike the original Spring Breeze, we got ourselves a bit of story here, with Dedede and Waddle Dee reacting to Kirby's advances. Very similar to how things were in the last session when we did Revenge of Meta Knight. So now we are infiltrating Dedede's castle, and unlike the previous game mode we're at, Spring Breeze, this one is actually treated as an actual level, which I quite appreciate. First test 'em! Go, my servants! This time we got Mr. TikTok, another returning face from the original Kirby's Adventure. So this guy definitely has quite a few different attacks. He will release waves of sound around you and also shoot out music notes. And if we eat him, we get the mic ability. Great King! He had an easy time! We'll see how he likes the next! If you're wondering about the voice I'm giving Dedede, it's based on the voice he had in the anime when he was voiced by Ted Lewis. Quite a nice performance, I must say so myself. Just such an iconic part of the English dub of the Kirby anime. Next, we got a battle against Grand Wheelie. Just going to do a load of damage with Mike there. Then we need to see if we can handle the rest of this guy. Ow. There we go. Unthinkable! He beat that one too? Kirby's approaching here, Your Majesty. Cursed pink lump! I can't believe it! Great King, pull yourself together! Sorry about that guy. He's dead tired. But yeah, we just got ourselves some more threats to deal with here. So I think because we have Wheel, yeah, we can just easily skip across most of that. Aw, I would have really appreciated if you could move that guy closer to me. No, well. Let's get ourselves another fight here. Third one's the charm. Get him, Fan! Fight! Aw, man, doing this boss without a power, this is gonna suck. I mean, worst comes to worst, we can always take our ability back from Waddle Dee here.
So I remember this boss giving me a bit of trouble back when I was playing the original Nightmare in Dreamland, back when I was doing that game over on my Twitch channel. But we should be pretty good here. So yeah, Fan's whole shtick. In Nightmare in Dreamland, he gave the throw ability. But in this game, he gives suplex. Great King! He beat Fan too! Alright, call the cavalry!
Yes, Your Highness!
So yeah, this game really marks when Bandana Waddle Dee, who previously appeared in the Megaton Punch game mode, was treated more as an actual character, where he is King Dedede's second in command. And is quite the fan favorite character. Like, I've even seen people request that Bandana Waddle Dee be added to Smash Brothers. Really shows how popular he is. Enough, Kirby! Face twin fire lions!
Go get him!
Alright, this one's gonna be pretty tricky with suplex, but should be good. Luckily, we're able to do a lot of damage with the stars we're able to throw with this. Ow. Alright, you get out of here.
Oh no, he beat everyone we have!
Ah, can't anyone beat that guy? Now that we dealt with the mid-bosses, time to go forward.
Great King! Kirby made it here! What do we do?
We're done for. Only one option. Okay then, I guess it's your turn.
But, Great King, I can't do it alone!
Fine, you can go. You've been spared.
Don't go, King!
I'm sorry.
Great King!
It's time for my secret weapon. Now you pay, Kirby! Kind of showing like Meta Knight, King Dedede is a pretty good boss to his troops. For the most part. Like, the later games really do show that Dedede does care for his minions. I feel bad about this. Oh, just kill him in one hit. Bye, Bandana. I guess we'll be having Bugsy with us in the next fight. Let's do this. You made it here. Now, arm yourself. Much like with Meta Knight, we have the option of grabbing an ability. Our grudge will be settled at last. Meet my powerful secret weapon, the brand new DDD Hammer. So our opponent here is Masked Dedede. The first appearance of Masked Dedede in this series, and what an introduction. This fight can be pretty tricky. The hammer he's got has a lot of different tricks that he can use against you. If you see him pull his hammer back like that, stay up. He will just do this spinning attack that can really mess you up if you get hit. He can also jump around a bunch. He's got his typical moves that you want to watch out for. Yeah, Dedede is not pulling his punches here. He is a very tough opponent here. Also, we're in a bit of a cage match. If you touch the edges of the cage, you will be electrocuted, so watch out. But with that, we were able to beat the king once more. No! Oh, man. I threw everything I had at Kirby that time, but I still couldn't beat him. Oh, phooey. I just love how somber this ending is. Like, Dedede really did throw everything he had at Kirby this time, and he still lost. Just really goes to show that Dedede, deep down, he isn't a bad guy. Sure, he can be greedy and selfish at times, but he is a good leader to his troops. And
he definitely has a lot more of a positive relationship with his nemesis compared to the likes of Bowser and Ganon. For as much as Dedede constantly clashes with Kirby, he does respect him deep down and just wanted to prove that he could be stronger than Kirby. And we definitely seen throughout the series that Dedede has shown that he is capable of shining in a lot of ways. Be it back in Kirby's Adventure, where he helped Kirby stop Nightmare, in Kirby 64, where he teamed up with Kirby to gather the Crystal Shards, to a lot of his playable appearances later on in Return to Dreamland, Kirby Triple Deluxe, and with Kirby Star Allies, and especially in Kirby in the Forgotten Land, Dedede has some really standout moments that showcases how good of a guy he can be. But with that, we manage to best the king. And with that, we unlock another game mode, Meta Nightmare Ultra. So we'll definitely want to take care of this one, as well as Helper to Hero. But I feel like we will take care of that in the next session we do. Which, thankfully, next week I have a lot of days off from work, so we'll definitely try to get in as much Kirby goodness as we can before the end of this month. So thank you for joining me in this session. Next time, we'll be seeing what we're able to do in both Helper to Hero and Meta Nightmare Ultra. Regardless of what happens, these are sure to be some really exciting moments ahead of us. So thank you for being with me here today, and until next time, have a good day and take care.